The next thing we'd want to do is make sure that all of our PyPoint data references in our templates are using the substitution parameters that we've set up here. And then the next step is we'd want to revert our attributes in our elements to use what's based in the template for the configuration string. Let's start with the first step, which is to go to our attribute templates. And we're going to want the PyPoint data reference ones for the element template, power and status. And our blower template also has a couple. The chiller and heater don't have any PyPoint data references set up yet. But we want to go through and change all the ones to use this form that we've set up for the power attribute to use our two substitution parameters. So let's see how we can use the PyBuilder tool to do all these data references at once. So again, I'll go back to my spreadsheet. Here's where we did our tag mapping. I'll just start with a clean sheet here. Go to my PyBuilder. And we'll want to go to the templates section and find templates. We mentioned we wanted the blower template and the equipment template. And this time, instead of bringing in attributes as columns, I'm just going to bring in the attributes as rows so that we can get the data reference type and be able to sort on that. So here I don't really need anything from the element template. So I can just clear all those. And now I want to get information from the attribute template. So we'll probably want the data reference type and the config string. We could also, in bulk, change the default units of measure for the various attribute templates, or the data type, or the default value. So here I'm just going to grab what we need for this purpose. And hit OK, and it's going to import everything. And here you can see we have a listing for the attributes of the equipment template. You can see here's all my attribute templates for that. And then underneath this blower template, we have the 3 attributes for the blower. I only want the ones that are PyPoint data reference, so I can quite easily use some Excel tools here. If I go to the Data tab and do a sort, and I want to sort on the attribute data reference, go ahead and click OK. And now I can easily remove rows that I don't want. And we'll be left with only the rows that are PyPoint data references. So now the next step would be to go ahead and change out the digits of these code numbers we've been using for tags for our substitution parameters like we used for power, which we set up in PySystem Explorer. So I'll go ahead and just copy the part of the configuration string that has the substitution parameters in it. And then we'll go and do our find and replace again. So a Control H, and I want to find the number 11 because that's the 2 digits that we want to change, and we'll replace those with our substitution parameters. We'll do replace all. And now you can see all my PyPoint data references are now using these substitution parameters. So don't really need to update this one since we did it already. And I'll go back to my PyBuilder and publish this change to the database. Looks like that's done. So let's go back here and take a look. Refresh everything. Looks like my status has substitution parameters, as do my fan speed and my shaft vibration frequency. So the next step would be to revert these to use the substitution parameters. If I want to make sure that in the future, if I make any changes to my template, these attributes would also receive those changes. So what I did for power was right-click and do reset to template. Now I don't want to have to go through and do that for all of the attributes for all of the different pieces of equipment. So next, let's see how we can revert all of these attributes to template using our builder tool. So I'll jump back to Excel so we can see how to revert all of our different PyPoint data references in bulk. And let's just open up a new sheet here. Go to my PyBuilder tab. And this time, instead of searching in the library, which is what I used when we made adjustments to templates, I just want to go to this elements collection because that's where we'll be able to search for attributes. So clicking here, we see that I do indeed have a choice to find element attributes. So I'll go ahead and select that. And now we get our search dialog. So I can't really narrow down the attributes we want to find by name because they have all different names. What we want are the PyPoint data references. Now one thing that'll be helpful is that, remember, we categorized all our attributes and we created this category called real-time data for any attributes that use a PyPoint data reference. So now that's going to come in very handy for this attribute search. We'll go ahead and start at the root level, so I don't need to specify an element here. And remember, you always want this box checked here so that we start at the root level and traverse to all of the leaf nodes down the entire hierarchy. So I'll go ahead and hit search. And we see we have all of our attributes that are using Py tags as references. Now we do have a few, like the coolant pressure and internal temperature, that we kind of put in there as placeholders for future PyPoint data references. That's okay, we can filter those out. So I'll go ahead and click on one and do a Control-A to select all of them. Hit OK. And now, like we saw with the attribute templates, we can select the columns that we need here. So we'll take a look at the config string. Shouldn't need any values. In fact, we'll just take the config string and the data reference just to take a look at those. Hit OK. And now you see we get a nice list of all of our attributes here. You can tell by this object type column that they're attributes. And let's go ahead and use our Excel tools again to sort this. If we go back to the data tab and sort, and we'll sort on the attribute data reference. Click OK, and then we can go ahead and get rid of these ones that aren't PyPoint DRs. Now you see that all I have left are my PyPoint data references. So in order to revert all these to template, it's actually really simple. I'm just going to go in here and highlight all these rows. And there's this button here to reset attributes to template. So I'll just click on that, and you see it updates this attribute data reference column with a template inside of the less than and greater than signs. So now we have all these rows selected with an X in the column. And I'll just publish this back to the database. Looks like everything completed without any errors. And now if I refresh, there's no way to really tell that those data references are using the substitution parameters, because if they're working correctly, it'll look like the same tag name. Again, if I really want to test it, I can go to the library and change this name. Again, I'll just add a lowercase a on the end of the name. Check that in for fan speed. Let's go check one of my blowers, and you can see my fan speed is wrong because it has this lowercase a on the end of the name. So it is indeed using what's in the template. So let's go ahead and correct that. I'll just take that a back off the end and check everything in, and we're good to go. So now we've gone through and we've updated all our templates to use substitution parameters for the tag names. And we've gone through and reverted all the attributes in our existing elements to use those substitution parameters. So the next thing we're going to look at is some steps we might want to do if we were going to create a new zone with new equipment and we wanted to use tag creation through PyAF.